Check, check. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start some of our pregame ceremonies. We're going to present Lorraine Romeo. She's the Law Enforcement Medal of Honor Committee, and she's got a really cool presentation that's going to take place right out here by home plate so people can see it. So, Lorraine, come on out here. Here's your microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lorraine Romeo, and I am the co-founder of the Law Enforcement Medal of Honor Committee. First, I would like to thank Guns N' Hoses and Duchess Stadium for hosting this ceremony, honoring our fallen heroes. On behalf of the members of the Law Enforcement Medal of Honor Committee, I would like to present the following photos and artifacts to the following recipients. Okay. Guns N' Hoses.
I'd like to thank, first of all, the Duchess Stadium and Guns N' Hoses for having this ceremony where we celebrate the lives of our heroes who gave their lives so that we can be free. So thank you, Duchess. Yeah, please.
The representatives of Duchess Stadium. Mrs. Daniel Anderson, which will be received by her husband, who is also the sheriff of Dutchess County, Butch Anderson. And lastly, to the unsung heroes, in memory of the flight attendants of American Airlines who gave their lives in an attempt to stop the hijackers. You women could come up, please.
A nice hand for all of our recipients. They're getting an artifact from 9/11. Guns N' Hoses, the Renegades, the ladies from American Airlines, flanked with our Dutchess County sheriffs, and Butch Anderson and his wife. Thank you. Sue, you're up next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to bring to the microphone my pal, our landlord, Marcus Molinaro.
Welcome back to Duchess Stadium, the home of the Hudson Valley Renegades, America's first Patriots. I don't know if you know this. The Hudson Valley Renegades, the team themselves, named after the founders of this very country, the men and women who fought and sacrificed for something greater than themselves. Tonight, we come together on what is a significant day. And I'd ask you to join with me in thanking, acknowledging, and extending our appreciation to the men and women in law enforcement, our emergency responders, fire, and all the men and women of our armed services across the globe. This This has been a challenging week for many in our armed services. Their hearts, in some cases, have been broken. And today, 20 years after those attacks on 9/11, our nation is reminded of what true evil looks like. I recall as a very young boy, my grandfather, Al D'Annunzio, a sergeant in the United States Army, telling me about the attacks of Pearl Harbor and the stories of sacrifice that that generation engaged in. And as he was telling me those stories, I can tell you it never occurred to me at that time that I would ever be sharing those stories with my own son, until I did. I don't think there's an American who doesn't know the words, "a date which will live in infamy." And certainly there aren't many Dutchess County residents who don't know who spoke those words. A son of Dutchess and the President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But we should begin to think and wonder, when did our nation forget Pearl Harbor? And we did. It is in the deep recesses of our memory. Fast forward today, 20 years after 9/11, 2001, and we are reminded to never forget. But it takes the stories and telling and retelling the message of that day of horror, but also the unity and the sacrifice and the heroism of the men and women who responded to keep it alive. You likely remember when George W. Bush stood atop the rubble and began to speak in the days after September 11th. And those assembled said, "We can't hear you." And the president at that moment, in an unplanned moment, reminded us of our national unity, but also that it wasn't his words that needed to be heard, rather ours. I can hear you, the world can hear you, and soon the people who knock down these buildings will hear from all of us. And he reminded us at that moment that it was our words as a unified nation that mattered the most. And so 20 years from that day, and 20 years from now, it is going to require that we tell the story of sacrifice, the stories of unity, in order to truly live up to that pledge to never forget. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we don't forget. And it is necessary and it is incumbent upon us to be determined and steadfast in keeping the story, the message, and the memories of 9/11 alive. And so let's begin again tonight, first here at this stadium, celebrating the men and women in fire and in law enforcement. Give them another round of applause. They've earned it. Their jobs have never been more difficult, and the need to support them never more important. And to the men and women in armed services across the globe, we stand shoulder to shoulder with you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what our elected officials may do or say. At the end of the day, the men and women of our armed services have never failed. They are the finest, most courageous, most just the world has ever known, and we are thankful to all of them. May God bless them. May God bless the people of the United States, and may God continue to bless this great country of ours.
Marc Molinaro. And now let's have a nice hand for Sue Serino.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to say a special thank you to our veterans, our law enforcement, our first responders, our women that came from the flights here today, our stewardesses. Thank you that we've listened to your stories before. You know, today in Dutchess County, we had some amazing ceremonies. And what was wonderful, there were so many young children there. Look at the children throughout the crowd. Most of them were not even born, right, during 9/11. And we all remember after 9/11 about the kindness and respect and opening doors and saying hello to people and caring for one another. And when I talked to the kids at the football game last night, I said, look at what you guys just went through, this pandemic. But you remember, after going through the pandemic, talking to our nurses, our first responders, doing parades, serving food. And they remembered about that and the kindness and respect. So that's my message today. Let's carry it forward. And you never know what just a simple smile is going to do for somebody. So thank you, and I think it's important for all of our law enforcement and first responders to know that we support you and we love you. Thank you, and God bless.
Sue Serino. All right, now you guys can run.
Let's
All right,
hear
ladies
it
and
for all
gentlemen.
the speakers that just had. Marcus, our senator, Zoles. Today's special day. What did we learn? We learned life is short. 2,977 deaths. There was an act of war on our soil. We have the bravest and the finest heroes from all walks of life. The towers were hit at 8:46, at 9:03, at 9:37, and 10:03 in Shanksville. Famous quote that came from George Bush. He said, Pearl Harbor of the 21st century just took place. Ladies and gentlemen, we never know if we're going home after we go to work in the morning. And there's some things that you cannot ever recover. Think about this. With your family, with your friends, you cannot recover the stone after it's thrown. You cannot recover the occasion after you miss it. Time, you can never recover. And I guess the biggest one that sticks with us, the word after it's said. We could never, ever recover it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to look right directly behind me. Look at those men and women, and I'd like you to listen to something. 20 years ago, I read this. It was sad. It was a day of remembrance. And it goes like this. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I stand guard with power in the world. Look over there. You see me? Can you pick me out? I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I'm confident. Sometimes I'm arrogant. I am proud. When I'm flowing with my fellow banners, my head's a little higher, my colors are a little truer. I stand proud. I bow to no one. I'm recognized all over the world. I'm worshiped. I'm saluted. I'm loved. I'm revered. I'm respected. And even sometimes I'm feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. I was flown at Valley Forge, Gettysburg, San Juan, the trenches of France. Did you see me? I was in Okinawa, Rome, Korea, Guam, Vietnam. You see me? Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraq. And I'm here for you tonight. Look around. Do you see me yet? I led my troops. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired. But my soldiers cheered me, and I was proud. I've been burned, torn, trampled on in streets of countries that I have set free. Doesn't hurt, because I'm invincible. I've been soiled upon, burned, torn, and trampled in the streets of my own country. And when it's done by those whom I've served in battle, it hurts. Hurts a lot. But guess what? I'll overcome. I'm strong. I've slipped the bounds of earth and stood watch over the uncharted frontiers of space. From my vantage point on the moon, I've borne silent witness to all of America's finest hours. But my finest hours are yet to come. When I'm torn into strips and used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the battlefield. When I'm flown at half-mast to honor my soldiers. Or when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving parent at the grave of their fallen son or daughter. You see, ladies and gentlemen, these are acts of life. I'm proud, and I am the flag of the United States of America. God bless you all.
Dutchess County Sheriff Butch Anderson. First pitches.
20 years ago, on Tuesday morning, September 11th, 2001, our lives changed forever. It was a heartbreaking day marked by the humanity, heroism, and grace that rose throughout our nation as we faced unimaginable tragedy and loss. Thousands were killed that day, thousands more were injured, and still thousands more responded to help the victims. In the aftermath of September 11th, countless other brave Americans volunteered to serve their country. At this time, the staff at VA Hudson Valley Healthcare System would like to take a moment and recognize the veterans, service members, and first responders here with us today. Please stand or raise your hand to be recognized. Your sacrifices keep us safe, and your courage brings calm amongst chaos. For this, you have our utmost gratitude. On behalf of our grateful nation and VA Hudson Valley Healthcare System, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some first pitches. Up first, from the Veterans Hospital Association, Hudson Valley Police Officer Sergeant Christopher Scroby. Slider in the dirt. Hudson Valley firefighter John Greenhill. Oh, a strike. From the fire department. Dutchess County Sheriff Will Moore. Our very own EMT. He's here all the time, and he's lovable. Skip Thiela. And finally, Kenny Shermer, Chelsea Fire District.
No, I said board of directors, not singer.
He said. It's okay. I'm good. Is this on? Don't worry about it. I thought he said it was.
All right, folks, you want to introduce?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dutchess Stadium. I'm Rob Adams. It's Saturday night, September 11th, 2021. There is a ceremony going on down on the field here at Dutchess Stadium. We'll bring in the voice of Dutchess Stadium, Rick Solzer, as we honor and remember September 11th, 2001. Here's Zols.
This organization plays hockey games. They play hardball. They play softball. They raise money like today's auction that's taking place. They make sure they're always giving and that we never forget. The president, Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, Will Moore. The vice president, Chris Byer. The vice president, Justin Bowman. And another vice president, Sal DePressy. These three will be fighting over his job real soon. Let's have a nice hand for the board of directors of Guns N' Hoses. They do a ton of great work for us.
If you're just joining us, there's a ceremony here at Dutchess Stadium before the game between the Hudson Valley Renegades and the Brooklyn Cyclones. We'll get you going with the starting lineups and all the usual baseball, but that's kind of secondary at the moment. Of course, the Hudson Valley hit very hard by the events of September 11th, 2001, and on this 20th anniversary of that awful day, we are honoring and remembering those who we lost 20 years ago. We'll go through the lineups as we get closer to first pitch. We can do that right after the national anthem. Here's Zols.
Would everyone kindly rise? Gentlemen, remove your lids as we get set for the national anthem. We have three different color guards on the field this evening, and right in between them, our national anthem, Karen Chevrolet Johnson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Karen Chevrolet Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you remain standing as we retire the colors.
Forgive my speaking over, but to describe what's going on, the colors are being, as Zols described it, retired. They walk off the field moving from left to right from our vantage point. And they will turn toward the Renegades dugout on the first base side.
Thank you. Let's play some baseball.
All right. Now we get down to the business of baseball for a Saturday night here at Dutchess Stadium.